Toca pensar en qué va a pasar en la bolsa, en los mercados en 2026. Para ello vamos a traer un contenido aquí en exclusiva. Vamos a entrevistar al trader más legendario de la historia de Wall Street, Peter Tuchman. Es la cuarta ocasión que viene al canal y nos va a decir qué pasa con la bolsa, qué pasa con la economía, dónde están las oportunidades, qué hay que hacer como inversores, cuáles son los riesgos, cuáles son las ventajas. Todo eso es lo que vamos a ver aquí dentro. Here again with my dear friend Peter Tuchman. It's my fourth time with him, and it's a pleasure again.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, sure. Let's talk about economy and stock markets. First, I want to ask you about economy and also related with the stock markets. And how do you see the economy for 2026 with the Trump administration? And maybe there are some analysts that are talking about the economy is going to explode the next year. It's overheating in that sense. So how do you see the economy and also to stock market and investing area?
Okay, so in order to talk about next year, we have to talk about this year, right? So this year was and also it's important to note that there's the economy and then there's the market. They're two separate things completely, right? Sometimes they trade together and sometimes it's a good economy, good market. Sometimes it's a really good, strong market and the economy is softer. Right? So because think about it. I mean, the economy represents mainstream America, right? People who are living paycheck to paycheck. Those may not be the people who are investing in the stock market. So it's a different lane. It's a different place. It's a different story. And so this year, 2025 has been an amazing year. I think everything possible has been thrown at the market, right? I mean, from a new administration to the whole tariff thing, Independence Day, the small mini crash of February, March, and April, then the sort of unwinding of that story, and then dealings with the economy and unemployment and stuff like that, and how that's happened, and then the whole AI phenomenon and the amazing earnings reports that we've had, and then obviously the government shutdown, the government reopened, so I mean, a couple of global wars, virtually gold going to 4,400. I mean, I could list for you all the things that have been thrown at the economy and at the market, right? And even with all those things happening, some are good things, some are bad things. Yet we are still going to close out the year. At least we're closing out today. We've had 48 record closes across every indices in 2025. We've had gold hit 4,400, a record high. We had silver hit $60, a record high yesterday. We've had, the Mag 7, the tech sector, and NVIDIA, and the whole AI phenomenon is in the midst of a revolution that is never been seen before. And, you have commitments by all the greatest companies in the world, Meta, Oracle, Microsoft, Google, all these are committing hundreds of billions of dollars to the AI space and to data centers and all of that. And so, it's a new world. Right?
Yeah,
it's a brand new world, right?
Absolutely.
And I've lived through many markets, and we plus you've got a new administration, right? And it's even a different administration than Trump 1.0. This is Trump 2.0.
Absolutely.
Right? And so what we saw was that, he came into town and he decided to, start playing the tariff card. And, and my belief is that if he had played the tariff card in a different way, then we wouldn't have had the crash we had. Right? I mean, it was legitimate. From February 19th until April 19th, we sold off 20.8%. That's significant. You had record low consumer confidence. You had even Ken Griffin, CEO of Citadel, say that he feels that Mr. Trump had eroded the whole confidence in U.S. markets back in February, March, April.
Yeah.
And when we were in that, it looked pretty dark. And then, and I think even I did not know whether, how we were going to come out of it. Because I could not put myself in the mind of Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Not that I particularly want to hang out there.
Yeah.
And then you had everything turn on a dime. Mr. Trump said, everybody, okay, enough with the down, let's start buying the market. The market reversed. We were able to get back to even quite quickly in 4 weeks after an 11-week descent. And then we, off to the races. And then we started to have the question of interest rates. And there was the whole sort of, I would call it a confrontation between Jay Powell and Mr. Trump, and the Doves and the Hawks, and deciding interest rates should be cut or not. Mr. Powell is an economist, Mr. Trump is not. And Mr. Trump has an agenda. He's had an agenda all along. I'm not sure it's bound by policy, but it's an agenda. And his agenda was to, basically to create some kind of an environment with this whole tariff thing where he was going to really shake up the trees and get everybody to make deals with him. Maybe net it worked in some ways, but there was a lot of pain on the way there. No. And then we had the interest rate story on whether we were going to start cutting rates. And Jay Powell was very firm on the fact that the economy was not in an appropriate condition for us to cut rates. And because when you have a low or slow growth environment for the economy, it's not a good time to cut rates because then you create stagflation. And the low growth was being caused by the tariffs, right? Tariffs are a tax or an expense, right? Whether it's the consumer or the corporation, it's costing people money. Now, Mr. Trump believes that cost of money is going to be passed on to somebody. I'm not sure who's that money's getting, in whose pocket that money is going. But anyway, so we're going to close out 2025 in a pretty good place, right? We just had really good economic numbers come out of Thanksgiving, right? Black Friday and Cyber Monday were stellar numbers. Nvidia and Palantir earnings were spectacular. Even though we had a government shutdown and a government reopen and a number of months where we were not getting the economic data, right? I mean, for me to understand and gauge how is the economy doing, I need to have data, right? That's the bottom line. Yeah. And for the last 3 months, we've had no data. Yeah. CPI, PPI, all these numbers that are important to show unemployment, to show growth, to show inflation. I mean, we have not had anything. We've been driving blindly. And we're still driving blindly to a certain extent. All we can know is if Mr. Powell has agreed to cut interest rates, it's either two reasons. Either the pressure from Mr. Trump or it's that the economy is soft enough that it warrants cutting rates. So if the economy is soft, that means that things aren't so good. Mm-hmm. So we're getting a lot of mixed messages. We're getting the economy looks strong from Thanksgiving sales, but the economy is weak because we're cutting rates. We cut rates if you cut rates while the economy is where it is now, then it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. It may jumpstart the housing market and the real estate market and stuff like that. So I think we're going to close out the market, close out the year. I mean, am I really clear about how the economy is doing? I'm not. You know what? I don't know if I have enough information to tell you that we don't have issues with layoffs, that we don't have issues with unemployment, that we don't. That inflation. I think inflation is under control. I think Jay Powell's done a great job there. But I don't know how the mainstream American is doing. I just don't know. I don't have enough information. I know that the stock market is roaring. Right, but the stock market roaring may have nothing to do with how a mainstream America is doing.
Yeah, real economy, right?
And mainstream America is the economy. And so the answer is I don't know. It's a long answer for me to tell you I don't know.
But it's okay.
But it's legitimate to say I'm not clear how, if I'm sure you ask people who are living paycheck to paycheck, they may say we're struggling. People who laid off their jobs, they're struggling. People who are government workers who are out of work for 2 months, I'm sure they're struggling. So, I mean, how much is that painting a picture or building a scenario where the economy is softer than we think? I'm hoping it's doing better than we thought. But anyway, so market seems strong. The economy is at 50-50. Now, so going into next year, we do know that Mr. Trump is going to install a new Fed chairman who is going to listen to him more than Mr. Powell did, and that he's going to cut rates more aggressively. And cutting rates, I think, will probably be better for the economy. So I think that's something to look forward to, because higher prices for longer doesn't serve anybody. So if you have somebody cut interest rates for the next 6 months again, and we cut them another 300 basis points, and it jumpstarts housing and real estate, and it gets inflation down a little bit, and it does all these things for the economy, well, then you may end up having a booming economy. Yeah. If you were to ask Mr. Trump, he will say the economy is booming, the market is booming, everything is great, I'm the greatest in the world, and that the economy going forward is going to be fantastic. He has said it. I hope he's right. I don't know if he's right.
Yeah, I understand. But some analysts told us that we are in some kind of bubble. You lived some bubbles in the past, 2000, and on the
So-
real
so,
estate
yeah,
bubble.
yeah.
Do you think that they are wrong?
Completely.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest bunch of,
Yeah.
of baloney in the world. For some bizarre reason, in the middle of November, they decided to come up with a story that because NVIDIA, because Palantir came out with earnings that were great and the stock sold off 8%, they suddenly started to build a picture that that AI was a bubble. And AI has been a big part of the rise of the market.
Yeah.
And that that absolutely makes no sense to me at all. The fact is that the reason the reason Palantir sold off after great earnings was because it ran up 7 days into the earnings. It was at a record high. There was a lot of uncertainty around in the market. And if I was an investor in Palantir and I bought it at 30 and it was trading at 170 and it had great earnings and I wanted to close out my book for the end of the year, I would have sold it also. So I think that was the impetus of the story about the whole bubble. So I think that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. That's the only bubble they could be referring to, because there's no bubble in the economy, right?
No.
I mean, the economy is not roaring to
No,
the point
no,
where
absolutely not.
like that it's something that can burst. So
Yeah.
that's got to be what you're referencing. And I mean, they've been talking about it for 3 weeks now, and every time they talk about it, I think it's the most ridiculous thing
It's
I've ever heard.
ridiculous.
Because if you've been doing this as long as me, you know that when a stock runs up, it's an old thing on Wall Street: buy the rumor, sell the news. When a stock runs up for 7 days, it's first of all it's up 500% for the year, and it runs up 7 days into the November 3rd release of the earnings to a record high. And then you've got a government shutdown, you've got uncertainty around the interest rates and all this thing, and people have so much profit in it. And then you've got crypto, there's a crazy margin calls around crypto, and you need to raise some money. What would I sell? I would sell my Palantir. And that's what they did. So to think that is enough of a story to build a story around the fact that AI is a bubble, NVIDIA, record earnings. Now, NVIDIA sold off for 3 weeks into the earnings. Palantir went up, right, for 7 days into the earnings. Palantir went down after great earnings. NVIDIA went up after great earnings. So, the fact that we have Meta and Google and Oracle and all these companies that are not in AI, investing hundreds of billions of dollars into AI, into data centers, into all this stuff, I think confirms that this is by no means a bubble. We're in the middle of a industrial revolution.
Yeah.
The fourth
So we are in
industrial.
the first stage.
We are in the second inning of a 9-inning game. We are in the first stage.
To the revolutionary-
100%.
Yeah.
We are in the first stage of it. I do a podcast with Dan Ives. Dan Ives is the smartest. He's the smartest man on Wall Street. He's the number one tech analyst in the world. He is an AI specialist and a tech specialist. And I listen to him and I believe him. And when he says that we are in the first stage, the second inning of a 9-inning game in the AI world, and that that this is the amount of money, capex spending, the amount of commitment by everybody, the amount of demand. Dan Ives goes around the world analyzing the demand for AI. Right, that's what he does. He's an analyst. I'm not an analyst, and he said that the demand all over the world for AI is warranting the billions and billions and trillions of dollars of the capex spending that's being put into it. So there's no bubble, and that's it.
And that's it.
They're crazy.
Yeah. And do you see some kind of a rotation next year? Maybe names who are penalized the past year, healthcare, energy sector. Do you see they are coming some kind of a rotation?
You know what? Look, I think that's probably a part of an economic cycle or a market cycle, where at some point you start rotating stocks. You get out of your outperformers, you get out of other ones. I think that those stocks that have been the dogs of the year, may become the favors of next year. We do know that. What Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, said the other day is main wild card in AI reaching the levels that it hopes to reach is energy. right? Because at some point we're going to have to fuel the data centers. And in order to fuel the data centers, you need energy. And so maybe the energy sector is the next one to be a secondary or tertiary derivative trade of the AI trade. That because without energy, we got no data centers. And so you're going to have to. They're searching for places where energy is cheaper, or whether you've alternative energy, whether it's solar or nuclear or whatever it is, to fuel the data centers.
Yeah.
So yes, rotation sounds like it would make sense.
And how do you see commodities? I mean, gold, silver are exploding this year. Do you think 2026 maybe could explode more?
You know what? Look, first of all, disclaimer that I'm not, I'm not an analyst, and I don't have a crystal ball. And so I think, I'm more of a day-to-day forensic broker trying to analyze why the market goes up and down. Today, the market is going down because I guess there were reports that Oracle, who's invested a lot into data centers, has postponed the completion of those data centers by as much as 1, 2, 3, 4 years as far as the completion goes, and that a lot of the bigger companies that have locked in their supply in GPUs based on those centers are obviously now, up against the wall, because if the delay in completion is significant, it will affect everybody. That's today's story. But as far as, gold had a spectacular meteoric rise, right? Gold, as far as my memory goes, gold traded at $1,800 an ounce forever. And this year it got as high as $4,400. That's a function of a lot of things. Normally, gold is where people go when the market is down. This year, gold went up and the market went up. So it was just a matter of people were buying everything that was not tied down, right? And it's because there's some kind of a comfort level in gold. Yeah. It seemed like it was trading technically very well. It made sense as a trade. There was a fast return on investment going on. And so that's extraordinary. The fact that silver hit a record high yesterday, I think, or the day before yesterday, is amazing. I think it's a flight to safety. That people are, we have there are 50 million new traders in the market, right? Where they are retail. Right, and they're coming from all over the world. Many of them are coming from Spain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they are 18 years old. They're 14 years old. They're 22 years old, and they're hungry to invest in alternative investments.
Yeah,
or
they make money. Yeah.
They want to put money in the market. They're looking for a fast checkout, and so some of the fast checkouts have been silver, gold, crypto. Crypto is on the bags of its ass at the moment, and that's a function of a number of different things. It had a nice run. And, still nobody knows what crypto's all about. And so there've been a bunch of big margin calls around crypto. And so, when they've been forced to sell it kind of unnaturally because of the way it's been trading, it seems like almost a purge or a capitulation of crypto, which may continue for a little while. I'm just trying to read read the tea leaves, and the tea leaves are telling me that commodities are hot.
Yeah, absolutely. Just final questions, because I want to ask you about real estate market in developed countries as Spain, as United States, as Germany, as a whole developed countries are in the same stage with real estate market. The prices are going up. The rents are going up. So how, as a New Yorker, how do you see this thing here? It's going to get worse the next year. How do you see this cost of living in New York, in the United States? How is going on with that?
Hard question. It's not really my wheelhouse, so I don't know that much about it. I don't know much about the real estate market and about housing. I do know that if we are in an interest rate cutting cycle, that you're going to get a resurgence of housing and real estate. That's just by nature. As interest rates go down, then we're going to get a little lag in inflation, and then
better mortgages.
With mortgages and with building.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a surge in building and a surge in real estate and all that. The bottom line is, as long as interest rates have been higher for longer, that's been putting a lot of freeze on real estate. And when things are frozen, if there's still a demand for them, the price goes up.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. I don't know how it's happening globally. I don't know about the rest of the world, but my sense is that there's some kind of a renaissance going on around markets, right? I mean, I run a trading school with my partner David Green, and we have students. We did a master webinar on Wednesday, and we asked, where are you all from? And we had 600-700 people showed up, and they were from everywhere. I mean, these are people who are trading the market, and they were from everywhere, from Bombay to, from Dubai to Kazakhstan to Patagonia to Spain to everywhere. And so, it's funny because the world is the access. Look, internet, social media, all that have made markets very accessible. Futures trading, Apex, futures funded trading, prop shops, all these things have made this place accessible to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, think about it. You could be a person in Spain who doesn't have any money, and you could open up a futures account for $30, and you could be a savvy numbers person, and you could get get paid to trade. Never before did you have access to these markets, right? And so that accessibility and that funding that's going on now, and that all interest and all eyes are on the stock market, has exploded the world. There are people who would otherwise be really struggling in developing countries who are now making money. I went and spoke in Dubai, right, last year, and I went to a conference, and it was a Forex conference. And there were young kids there who, my gut is that they come from a very humble background, and that, that their parents were working, many, many jobs to support the family, and they found Forex, and they started to trade it, and they were good at it, and they were millionaires. They were Forex millionaires at 18 years old, right? These were people from all over Europe, right, who never would have an opportunity in the past. And so I think that is fueling some kind of a revolution in that, more people have more money. The more money people have, the more demand is. People are traveling, people are buying. And that's why you're having all that kind of a rise in expenses. I mean, there are literally tens of thousands of teenage, stock market millionaires going around who are traveling and buying things, and and it's fantastic. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. That accessibility to the markets is an amazing story.
Yeah, just a last question, which is related with cost of living. Some people here told me that they have 2-3 jobs to get to pay their
people here told you that?
Yeah, 2-3 jobs or 2 jobs. It's very common.
Yeah.
They have not a huge or a good quality in their jobs. Could gonna be changed the next years in the future with the AI revolution too. Maybe it could change the labor market in that sense.
You know what? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. People who are working 2 or 3 jobs, that they must be struggling, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing everything to put food on the table, right? And I hope they know that this is an option for them. That they can trade for $30. I can open up an account and start trading. I don't want that to feel. I don't want people to feel like that's an arrogant thing for me to say. That that somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck and works 3 jobs cleaning houses and bartending and all that stuff. That I should tell them to go trade the stock market.
Yeah.
But the accessibility in today's market, right, is unheard of.
Yeah.
And we have tens of thousands of students all over the world who trade with us, who would have, if they weren't trading the stock market, they would be a cashier at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Right, literally.
They
They used to be they were cashiers at Home Depot, and then they heard about trading and they started to trade and they made a lot of money.
Totally.
So I don't want people to think it's an arrogant thing for me to say, but it's a reality. It's a brand new reality. So it's hard to know what everybody's experience is. Some people are sort of locked into a trauma thing where they just can't get out of that. Out of the narrative of where they came from and all that kind of stuff. But it's one of the stories that I tell all the time, is that this is an opportunity that anybody can do.
Absolutely,
right?
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So,
yeah, and no, in Spain I told the people that you need to invest, save before and invest then.
Yeah.
You need to fight against inflation, against the cost of living, and the better way to do it is investing.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah. and even trading.
Even trading also. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you know, everybody should know that that investing is an option, and now as never before.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, anybody with an iPhone and $100 can invest in the stock market. That was never available before.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your
Absolutely,
time.
my pleasure.
Yeah.
I wish you the best, and everybody in Spain. Check everything out that he's doing, and check out what I'm doing. And you know what?
Exactly.
This is available. It's accessible.
Yeah.
It's possible. So
Yeah.
you know what? If the possibilities are there, possibilities lead to opportunities. So go check it out, and don't settle for anything. Go out there and try to find something fun.
Thank you so much. And
My
follow Peter Tuchman in social networks.
There you go. Einstein and Wall Street. Have a good day.